Well, the conversation concerning the November 8th election in Anambra State continued for quite a while, and it hasn't stopped. Some of the issues we raised on Southeast News concerning voter apathy. Oh, you're wondering what I did by? That's money and votes. Or was it what they called it? Incentives. However, one issue was also that of security. Unfortunately for us, we thought this election would be a test run of a new INEC chairman on the changes he would have brought to bear on what elections would look like. Unfortunately, it does appear that somebody got the old playbook out and we were acting the same old script where there was some form of violence, there was vote buying, voter apathy was still there. Now, imagine when you have a voting population of about 2.8 million and total number of votes cast for that election to elect the new, sorry, did I say new? Somewhat new. Why is it somewhat new? Being re-elected is a new election anyway. So we are now talking about 500,000 votes out of 2.8 million voters. Yes, you may say that's an upward move, given that in 2021 it was just about 200 and something thousand votes, just a little over 10%. But I'm not here alone in the studio. I'm in the studio with someone who was in Anambra State, someone who was working and ensuring that Signature TV got interviews, got reports, got what it took for us to go on live and have the Anambra Decide studio. Actually wasn't alone, but right now in the studio, he's alone with me. We had a team, a strong team in Anambra just to cover the elections and bring you what you saw on Saturday. Well, right now in the studio, I have Christopher Lele with me. Christopher, how are you?
Thank you. Fine.
Thank you too. Fine. So welcome to Southeast News.
Yeah.
At one point, it does appear as if the election would defy the predictions, the early stages, where you heard that materials had arrived. And then gradually we started hearing that in some polling units, materials hadn't arrived. And as we progressed, we even got to a point whereby the materials had got to a place in Obaru rather, where materials meant for a different polling unit completely. And then we were getting the old vibe by saying the politicians were trying to sort it out. And I said, what were they sorting out? When they called INEC to come ensure that the materials that were taken to the wrong place were put back together. But you witnessed it firsthand, so let's hear from you. In a nutshell, how would you describe the election?
Relatively, to be fair, I think the election was it was free to a very large extent, and it was credible.
How do you describe? Sorry. How do you describe a free election where people were buying votes glaringly? How free is that?
That's why I said to a very large extent. I didn't say it was entirely free.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I will interject a lot. Maybe just for clarity's sake.
Yeah.
I didn't know that we can begin to use adjectives to describe the word free. Because if an election is free, it is free. We don't need to say to a large extent, somewhat free, maybe free. Free is free.
Yeah, free is free, but in Nigeria, we're still in Nigeria.
Right.
There are ways we have to just explain these things. It's almost impossible to have a free, fair election for now, unless the current INEC administration just make sure that everything works well. But for now, based on politicians and how active they are, and then it's funny how we even have some police personnel that were mounted at these polling units. They could still see inducement as if they were blind to it. So to a large extent, that's why I say to a large extent, majority of the polling units express free and fair election.
Majority. We have many polling units, about 8,000 and something.
21 local government areas. Even the observers confirmed that they were vote buying. I'm not saying there weren't anything like that.
I don't need an observer to confirm. Yes, they were there to do their job.
Yeah.
Because we had videos during Anambra Decide. We were playing the videos and showing the world that people were blatantly buying votes at a full glare. So that's why I begin to ask that question. How do you now need an adjective to describe the word free?
Yeah, why I'm very concerned with this thing now is that we don't want a case whereby we use 3, 4, 5 polling units to conclude the rest of the units. The places that I went to, we didn't witness a direct vote buying. For capture, you would have seen it.
But you witnessed, you heard that they were buying votes.
Yes, of course. Of course we have.
So, was it not the same? A vote bought. I enjoyed one of those you interviewed, and he said it clearly and cleanly that if a vote is bought, and it means a person didn't vote freely, and that vote should be cancelled.
It's now behoves on INEC. INEC will have to be the one to decide on that, but the result has already been announced. And it doesn't look like INEC is going to consider that.
INEC doesn't have to consider that. But if we want our democracy to work, we should begin to think about the things we need to rejig to ensure that our democracy works perfectly. Now, on Anambra Decides, Chief Ifeanyi Chukwu Okonkwo did make a suggestion. He said, when people spend money to buy votes rather than spend money to campaign, to educate the electorate, to get them to look at the manifestos of the various parties, you discover that they have enough to spend to buy votes. So if, for example, the electoral law is changed to say that you must have minimum of 40% of registered voters voting in an election, then I guess you begin to discover that they'll spend more time working on best strategies to reduce vote buying. Because if the election results shows, just like what I was saying earlier, that about 500,000 people cast their vote, when those who were registered for that same election, about 2.8 million. That's not up to 40%. It means if new election will be called, that's his recommendation, will be called maybe in the next 40 days or 40 something days or 90 days. It means they'll start the campaigns all over.
But I think another concern I'm having now is that why being in a hurry to announce the results? If there were observations that certain polling units witness vote buying or some sort of inducement, why not cancel those units and look for a way to fix the election in those areas, so to speak, and when you're done, you then call out the results. Because this is now affecting the confidence of so many voters in the system. How would one want to come out again to vote when you know that at the end of the day, whoever buys the vote will eventually win, in quotes? So that is also a part that INEC really have to look into. But from the interviews I had from some of the citizens, most of them, they seem to be really comfortable with the administration and they wanted the administration to continue. So most of them came out because they want to support the administration.
I'm tempted to agree with you, except the part of them also collecting money to vote. Because if you are comfortable with an administration, it means you voluntarily go out and cast your vote.
You can look at it from the different angles. They already know who they want to vote for, but whether they like it or not. Some people are hungry.
So the money is the icing on the cake.
It's just one, yes, the bonus. To go and cast their vote. They already know what they want to do. They knew they were going to go out. But if there is drink and there is money, why not? We'll take the money. So then they're eating the national cake.
Having it.
Yeah, having it. Now, apart from the angle of the poverty, not having, or people are hungry, ignorance is also part of it. How do you feel? What message are you sending? I saw a lady carrying a baby, a child, to collect the money and the food, whatever that was given to her. What message are you sending to the younger generation? That's where ignorance comes in. So people can be bought for what? For how much? That stuff, I don't think it's even up to 1,500 naira.
If you, during the news, it was said that between 3,000 to 20,000 naira, at a particular ward where it was captured, said 10,000. That was the going rate for each person's vote. So you sell your vote for 10,000 naira, and the man is elected. He has a mandate for the next 4 years. Something we are missing is the fact that how can you come out to criticize the man for not doing what he's supposed to do?
That's an angle. That's an angle, but Nigerians will always be Nigerians. They will be the one to vote someone in, and when it's no longer favorable, they also still complain about it.
So what would they be complaining about? That they didn't take the money?
This was not what they expected.
How?
Yeah, because they thought the first time it was okay, the second time would be okay.
First time of taking the money was okay, the second time was better. but Chris, now, looking at the election, would you say there are lessons Nigerians have learned, or we're learning the lessons from a negative perspective? Let me be a bit clearer. We now know that we must do something seriously about vote buying.
Yeah.
We now also know that there must be serious voter education to get people to understand what it means to vote for the candidate of your choice. We also now know that INEC has not done enough to change the minds of the people. All this may culminate into having more voter apathy in the next election, 2027, for example. So what have we learned from your experience in the field? What can you share with us?
One of the things that I saw and I was impressed is the fact that youths were still coming out, regardless. I don't know if they were persuaded by their fellow youths coming out and they were like, okay, let me join you, onto friends and cliques and what have you. But the youths really came out. The elderly ones, the aged, they were just in very, very few numbers. They didn't really come out like that. And someone that I asked was like, what are they coming out to do? They already know the end of the result. Why stress themselves? You get? But then again, I think the youths are still resilient, believing that something can be done. That's one part of it. And I wouldn't be surprised if come 2027 we see more youths coming out to cast their votes, because they're gradually awakening to the understanding that we are the leaders of tomorrow and we have to set things straight. That's for one angle. The campaign you made mention of is very important. One of the interviewees said that they did not hear town criers coming out to talk about the elections. There was no serious grassroots campaigns carried out. And then one other observer said, Soludo, we should give it to him. He did more campaign compared to other politicians. So how do you intend to get people to come vote for you if you don't do your homework, if you don't campaign and get to people the way you should? So that also is important. And voter apathy, very, very important. Very, very important. People need to understand the implications if they don't come out to vote. What happens to them? People also need to be educated on buying votes. selling their rights. What is it about? How is it going to affect them? And what message are they sending the younger generation? I was really pained when I saw parents with their younger ones. You could see your children, your child seeing you selling your rights. What message are you sending to them? How do you want them to take the next future? How do you want them to be groomed election-wise? So this is really sad. It's really, really sad. The message, we heard that the government sent about 65,000 personnel, military security personnel, to come protect, people during the elections and to make sure everything is in order. But the question now is, the area that the councillor was shot, were there any security personnel? The areas that the vote buying was going on, we could clearly see in the video that there was a security personnel watching. So what was the essence of these people? How do we have these people and things we are going on? Were they bots? This is also why many people are scared of having state policing, because they feel they will just be packaged and do to their willing, to their bidding, so to speak. So what was the essence of these people? So these also need to be looked into. These are lessons we really need to take seriously. And then off-cycle election. Could that be the reason why there was a voter apathy? Why people didn't come out? Could that have really been the reason?
I like the questions you raise. Well, let me throw them back to you in a different way. Let me start from the last one. When you talk about off-cycle election, is there really anything wrong with it? In Anambra, they were voting for who? The governor of the state. It wasn't as if they were voting for one councillor's seat. The constituency of the governor is the entire state. So I don't think that it's because it's off-cycle. That's why you're not getting people there. Why did I say that? If the governor said, one of the interviewees said the governor was the only one who went round, he was one of those accused of using the word incentive as a cover-up for vote buying, saying that any wards that gives him the highest number of votes will be paid a certain amount. So now looking at that campaign and looking at where you said you were pained, seeing elderly people coming out with their children to collect money and vote. There's a correlation. Remember, you said poverty could drive them to do that. If poverty is not weaponized, would it not be easy for people to vote according to their conscience? So I'm throwing it back to you. So what are we seeing? One, as human beings. Two, as journalists. How can we turn it around?
All right, let's start with the part of the journalist. As a journalist, we just have to tell the truth the way it is. No matter how we feel about the people or the particular candidates of the party, we just have to tell it the way it is, as truthful as possible. That way, people really get the facts from the false and what have you. They'll filter and work with what is right. That way, people can really decide on the right information on what to do and what to work with. That's from our end. Then the part of that was the next. What was the other question again?
You said you were pained to see parents coming out with their children and still selling their votes. And I reminded you that the governor was the one campaigning and telling people they'll be given incentives if they win.
Now, that was even a statement that both the INEC and the security personnel will have taken seriously if the government or the system was working. It's like someone threatening to bomb a place on a particular program or event, and the least you could do is to be relaxed. You're supposed to be on the lookout if there would be any incident of such. So something like this happened, that means nothing really is working. People are not really taking responsibilities of their authority, of the power that they have. INEC is not effective enough to bring out, if the observers, people are saying that a particular polling unit witnessed vote buying, what did INEC do? Why were they in a hurry? Something should be done to those polling units. Okay, the offenders, the vote buyers, where are they? I was expecting a statement from INEC that the people that did this or did that, this is what we've done, this is what we're going to do. We haven't heard anything. The state governor, yes, he made a speech, acceptance speech, and what statement was made? Vote buying. I heard my party was involved. I'm not a party of this, and I don't like it. We'll look into it and see what can be done about it.
I am having a good laugh. Do you know why I'm having a good laugh?
Tell me.
ABGA is not the one who conducted the election.
No.
So how will the government look into it? It's INEC and its security personnel that should look into it.
Yeah, still setting an example. You know, if you are a party member and your party member, if you are from a party, they give themselves punishments for something against the party rule, ethics and what have you.
Really? Have you ever seen any political party come out to say that Christopher Lede will not stand as a chairman of a party because while we were talking about voting for chairman, for would-be chairman, he was giving money to the
I've never seen, but we look forward to a Nigeria that can stand on truth.
That I agree with you completely. That I agree with you completely. Now, what I expected was to have at least the police say they caught minimum of 50 to 60 people who were buying votes and those that were selling votes. I was shocked when I heard that 3 people were arrested, and I said, is that any news?
Without a name.
Given the volume of people that participated in the buying and selling.
That's it.
So, at what point can we get out of this scenario?
When everybody takes responsibility and do what is right, without waiting for this other person to take the right step. The president has congratulated the governor of Anambra State. Here is a statement to INEC. We could see online, we heard this. What are you doing about it? If the president makes a statement, we want to believe that people will take it seriously and they want to sit up to their responsibility. But there's no statement. Everybody is quiet. How will this Nigeria get better 2027?
I like that question. But I think the better question to ask is, what are the lessons learned for INEC? Because if change begins with me and you, because they say the very first person to start change is whoever you see in the mirror. So change starts with me. And when you get to the mirror, change starts with you.
Yeah.
INEC is the one that conducts elections in Nigeria. Something came to my mind just as I was emphasizing the fact that INEC conducts election in Nigeria. The fact that some Nigerians, over time, I insisted that even local government elections should be conducted by INEC. But now look at this scenario in Anambra State, where INEC cannot conduct an election that people will beat their chest to say it was credible, it was free, it was fair. And you want the same group of people to conduct local government elections because there's this feeling that the governors control the state independent electoral bodies. Is there any change from what you observe in the field? Was there any difference if it was conducted by the state electoral bodies or by the national electoral body in terms of vote buying in terms of taking materials from one place to a different location, that those materials were not needed, in terms of missing result sheets. What about voter apathy?
Well, let's take this as the first lesson, even if it's very hard for INEC to work with, but there was really nothing so distinct about the election that you like clap and scream, INEC, wow, this was a job so well done. I want to believe that the areas that were okay were because God wants them to be okay, and the citizens just didn't want to. Because the areas that there was no standby or any first-hand attack or kind of retaliation from anybody, maybe the police people that were there, or shall I say, even INEC, there was nothing. Everything was the way whoever came about, whatever came to do whatever he wants to do. So there was really nothing from the end of INEC to manage the situation.
Well, I hope they'll do better. I have to let you go, Chris. It's my pleasure.
So much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Hope you had a good time in Anambra yesterday.
I did.
And the day before.
I did.
All right, then.
Thank you.
So that's our conversation on Southeast News today. But the issues in Anambra election, we'll still be talking about it, even within the week. For now, Barry Kumado is my name. I'll see you tomorrow.